What's up, everybody? Happy Monday, and what a glorious Monday it is. This is Moxie Bets, presented by Caesar Sportsbook. I'm Katie Mox. I'm in a great mood. Today, we're talking Monday Night Football, angles, TNF picks, and recapping yesterday's biggest games with our guy, Mr. Monday, Danny Brasco. Oh, what a game it was for the 49ers and the Eagles. 42-19. Brock Purdy, or as we like to call him in these parts, Glock Purdy, 314 yards, 4 touchdowns. And do you know who's leading the pack for MVP right now at 3-1? Do you know, Danny?
Let him know.
Glock Purdy. That's who's leading right now in the odds. Now, I don't know specifically if this is on Caesars. It's on several books. We'll have to actually pull up what those odds are on Caesars. But right now, Brock Purdy has moved in on a lot of books to the number one spot, 3-1 for the league MVP. CMC had himself a day, 93 rush yards, 1 touchdown. Deebo Samuel. Deebo standing on business. He talked all that crap. He said Bradbury was trash. He said that the 49ers would have won by double digits if Brock Purdy didn't come out. And he came out there and he scored 3 touchdowns on them. It was honestly a glorious thing to see. The 49ers defense also, major shout out to them. They limited the Eagles to just 46 rush yards. Jalen Hurts' largest margin of defeat in his NFL career. Suck on that, Philadelphia. Choke on those tears. And look, it couldn't happen to a nicer fan base as far as I'm concerned. And I understand it's a lot more fun to play a team without a quarterback. I would love to play in an NFC championship game where the opposing team didn't have a quarterback. And you called us 40-winers, and you said that we are just sore losers and all of these things. And I have not heard a peep out of any of y'all. 42-19 with your quarterback. Now, Jalen Hurts did go out for a short amount of time. Thank God he cleared protocol and he came back in the game. One, I'm glad that happened because I don't want anything to happen to Jalen Hurts. He's a phenomenal player. He's very important to the team, and you always want to see him out there. But two, I was also glad that they couldn't use that excuse because it happened in the fourth quarter. We were already killing y'all when that happened at that point. So you couldn't be like, oh, well, we didn't have our quarterback either. That's not how this works, people. And he came back out there, and y'all still lost. Now, I think one of the most interesting things, I'm just talking this whole time. I'm going to get you in here in a second, Danny. And I know you're ready to come in because as a Giants fan, you are also happy with what happened. But the most controversial thing in the game, Big Dom, their security guard, who apparently is beloved in Philly, looks like whatever. He looks how he looks. Everybody knows how he looks. And he got there was a controversial hit, definitely should have been a penalty on Devontae Smith from Dre Greenlaw. But then this security guard I didn't even know that there were security guards. I didn't know football players need security guards. I was not aware that this was an actual thing. But I guess in Philadelphia, because they are so unhinged at the link, that maybe you need security guards for your players and your coach. But anyways, he's down there, Big Dom, and he decides to get involved and touch Dre Greenlaw. And then Greenlaw gets back in his face and they eject Greenlaw. Yep. You want to come in?
No. I was saying he just kind of finger flicked. He kind of mushed him.
Finger flicked him. Yeah, so they eject Greenlaw. And do I think that was the right thing to do? Yes, but if you look at how them losing Big Dom, this loser on the sideline that nobody knows why he's actually there, versus an actual player, a very important player on the 49ers, it's not fair and equal. So I'm curious what the league is going to do. This Big Dom guy should never be on a sideline ever again, as far as I'm concerned, because he should not be able to taunt players and impact the game like that. I think the league had to, unfortunately, DQ Greenlaw, and he had to, because of the situation was so kind of unprecedented. It's like, what do you do? But Big Dom, hope to never see you again. All right, that's me. You take over now.
Wow, the opening monologue is Katie, 49ers clapback. I mean, rightfully so. Katie's feeling good. I'm feeling good too. 5 units on the Niners. I had the -3. I had the money line. Christian McCaffrey over rush yards. It was a great game.
Let's go.
And the Eagles were so due for that loss. They should have lost to the Chiefs. They should have lost to the Bills. They ranked number 2, actually, in the luck rankings. So negative regression was due. And there you have it. Now, Eagles fans, don't come at Katie that crazy because, of course, in the spirit of the rivalry, she's having her feast. But you heard what she said about Jalen Hurts. She doesn't want any players
Yeah.
injured, and
Yeah.
I respect
And
that.
I took y'all's abuse for an entire offseason. This didn't come out of nowhere, okay? This is a response to the way y'all treat me.
And I've been taking it for the last few weeks being against him. So it is what it is, right? We receive it, we got to be able to give it back, so on and so forth. It's fun. But Dom DeSandro, such an interesting moment there. Katie, you're right. I was thinking to myself, since when do players have on-field security, right? I get it. You leave the game, you got swarming fans. Everyone, these multi-million-dollar athletes, they need security, of course. But why is there a situation when a non-coach is right there on the sidelines next to the play caller, it looked like, and he's putting hands on Greenlaw? There's no scenario. Greenlaw shouldn't have been swiping him, but it's a football game. They're in a battle. In the heat of the moment, anyone could get touched. Anyone could. I mean, you see, who was it? Quay Walker on the Packers, who got ejected last season for accidentally, hitting a medical staff. He didn't realize who he was touching. He did the wrong thing. Yep. So similar situation, like you said, there's no precedent. So if you hit a coach like that, you got to go. But I didn't like the ejection. I didn't like any of that. And it was a weird situation for sure. I don't think security should be on field like that.
No, and let me say this. Obviously, I talked my talk. Y'all have to listen to it because this is just where we're at with a 42-19 beatdown. But like you said, the Eagles were headed for some regression. These type of losses are healthy, people, all right? You can't win every game, and they'd been winning a lot of close games, a lot of single possession games. They were due for this. They'd won 2 very emotional games. They beat the Chiefs, and then they beat the Bills. And so the 40, we got blown out by the Vikings. Do you know what I mean? We had 3 losses there, 3 ugly losses there. And they were healthy and they were good. And we had the bye week and we were able to recalibrate. Do I think the 49ers are better than the Eagles? Yes. Do I think that the Eagles are going to play us a lot better and this will be a closer game if we meet in the playoffs or another NFC Championship game? Yes. I'm not saying the Eagles are a bad team. I'm saying they got their teeth kicked in, which they absolutely deserved, and not in the deserving in the fact that the 49ers were just better than you on both sides of the ball. They beat you. That was a well-earned loss by the Eagles. But the Eagles have the best record in the NFL. The Eagles are going to come out stronger because of this. They needed this loss. Every team needs a loss like this in order to recalibrate and just kind of get you back on track. Maybe they were drinking their own Kool-Aid so much. I don't really care. I mean, the thing is, the 49ers are still beating you in the next round, but I do believe it's going to be closer.
Yeah, and the key factor is going to come down to health more than anything. We're talking about Purdy and the Niners and their playoff game, and that was the difference. Well, the Eagles, finally, they're all healthy. When they have their core healthy, talented offensive players of Trent Williams, who people don't mention enough on the offensive line to make sure everything can get started with his protection, Debo, Kittle, Ayuk, all together. When those guys are all together, they're 9-0. They score over 30 points a game. They're beating teams by over 18 points per. I mean, it's ridiculous. They're the best offense in the league, and the Philadelphia defensive woes were really apparent over the middle with Debo absolutely destroying them. So, like I said in the beginning, it's going to come down to health of their secondary if they can get healthy. Lane Johnson, he's not 100%. They need him on the offensive line. And Jalen Hurts, who's been having a lingering knee injury, just doesn't look as explosive as last year, right? Or as physical of a runner. So those things are the key factors, and the players that I mentioned for the 49ers, how those assets are and their health going into the next meeting, if it does happen in the playoffs, that will be the key more than anything.
That will be the key. So fill in this blank, although I think you already did, and we probably both agree. The 49ers will win the Super Bowl if...
Yeah, that was the blank.
Remain
McCaffrey,
healthy.
Williams, Debo, Kittle, Ayuk are all healthy. 9-0 with those numbers. Who's stopping that offense?
Yeah, agree 100%. Let's look forward to week 14, Seattle versus San Francisco. The Niners take care of business again. Unfortunately, Seattle doesn't stand a chance. And then the Eagles versus the Cowboys. This is a very interesting one to me. I kind of think this was a close game. Their first game was a close game. It was in Philadelphia. They're coming back. This will be in Dallas. Dallas is undefeated at home and has like a huge win margin. I think that the Eagles lose 2 in a row. I think the Cowboys get the best of them in this one. What do you think?
Yep. I already bet it. Cowboys minus 2.5. It's probably going to go
before the line moves. Smart.
Yeah, it's definitely going to go to 3. And if it hasn't already, let me check right now on Caesars. But there's no way that I'm not going to keep betting against the Eagles' negative regression here. I feel like I should be 3-0 with Chiefs, Bills, and Niners.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
1-2. I want to get
Yeah.
back to 500, and we're not
Yeah.
going to gain any Eagles fan friends on this episode of today's podcast, but
No,
I will
they're not
gain
listening.
friends.
They
Hopefully I make a
are
friend at the bank
tuning
when I
out
go
of
to
this one. Yeah.
cash the ticket at the bank. Maybe we'll be friends there. You know
Uh-huh.
what I mean?
Yeah, look, and the thing is too is like I have some dear friends who are Philadelphia Eagles fans, and I love them and I want good things for them, but the fan base as a whole has tried to torment me for a very long time now. So let me have it, people. Let me have it. Okay, so let's move on. There are more games that happened. The Colts beat the Titans in overtime, 31-28. This was a super sharp line. The spread was 1. Some places 1.5. It was basically a pick 'em, and then it went into overtime. I believe at 25-25. I had the Colts -1, so this was a sweat for me. I know it's whatever. This is a sweat for me, but the Colts won their 4th straight win. They're 7-5 now. They're 7th in the AFC. It'd be the first time in the playoffs since 2020, and behind Minshew. Is Minshew the best backup in football? I think he kind of is. He's got the most experience because he's been this backup that actually plays for several different teams.
He makes no sense to me. Minshew mania continues. He actually ranks at the top of the league in turnover-worthy throws, right next to Will Levis and company
Yeah.
of the guys who seemingly are, having those mistakes
Yeah.
and rookie blunders every week. But then he has that swagger about him that you say, is he the best in the league? Because Minshew mania just randomly, runs off a 60-yard QB option or
Yeah.
finds Josh Downs down the field for 55 yards. I don't get the Colts. And, much to my chagrin, I was on the Titans money line, actually.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Katie, they missed the extra point to go
I
up
know.
26-25. They should have never been in overtime.
I know.
Yet, here they are. And once it was, I was like, okay, this is dicey for me now. So that was one of my only losses of the day yesterday. A tough one, but glad at least you were on the winning side. Wild game. And what did win was the +7.5 and a teaser. If you want to, when the Titans are like +1, +1.5, they're always in those tight games with Vrabel. So if you see them on the short spread, tease them up as an underdog. You'll probably cover that line. It was a wild game.
Well, that was the thing. Everyone was like, Vrabel is a home dog. Don't bet. And sure, but the Colts have actually been really good on the road. They're now 5-1 on the road this season. And like you said, Minshew, 312 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Derrick Henry doing Derrick Henry stuff, 102 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. It's been
and Katie, you got 2 blocked punts from the Colts. 1 recovered for a touchdown in the end zone. So heck of a comeback for them.
Yeah. Looking forward to week 14 Colts and the Bengals, and then also the Titans at Miami. Titans don't stand a chance against the Miami Dolphins. They are clicking on all cylinders right now. The Colts at the Bengals is interesting to me. The Bengals play tonight, Monday Night Football. Jake Browning getting only his 2nd start, but his 3rd time playing because Burrow went out versus the Ravens. And look, when Burrow was out earlier in the season, Browning was getting a lot of first reps in practice and stuff with Jamar Chase and with T. Higgins, with these guys. So I'm curious to see if he gets better. So this Colts and Bengals game, I'm going to wait and see how they do on Monday night, what Jake Browning looks like now that T. Higgins is back in the lineup, what Jamar Chase can look like. So I don't know. This one I'm waiting on, but I don't care how big the line is in Miami. Go ahead and hammer that now.
Yeah, it's a tough matchup for the Titans there. Miami offense, when clicking on all cylinders, tough to keep up with. So you got to play them in a dogfight. There's no way you can go score for score with them in a shootout. Definitely look to see what happens on Monday here. Big spread. We'll get into it in a second. I want to see what we make of Jake Browning, like you mentioned, with both weapons back, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Maybe that opens things for both of them, even with the backup, who seem pretty serviceable.
Yeah, I agree. One of the more surprising ones, the Lions beat the Saints 33. Not that the Lions beat the Saints. That's not surprising. The score is surprising, 33-28. Derek Carr didn't even have any real weapons to throw to. He's down almost all of his wide receivers. The Lions went up 21-0 within 7 minutes of the first quarter. But these Saints just kind of fought their way back. Lions haven't won a playoff game since 1991. Maybe this is their year that they finally get one. I don't know. I kind of feel like they started strong, that this happened 2 years in a row. They start really strong like juggernauts, and then they start to wind down in the last part of the season. And yes, they won this game, but against the Saints? You allowed the Saints to put 28 on you? I don't think the Lions are going the Lions are not going to the Super Bowl, and I don't know that the Lions go far in the playoffs either. What is your take on Dan Campbell's team?
The Lions defense stinks right now, Katie. It stinks. And they look great in the beginning of the season with their run game, their physicality, Aiden Hutchinson coming off the edge. But it's not about the defensive line. Their secondary is porous. Me and you could rack up, 300 yards, 100 yards receiving to you. Katie,
Well, the
I need you out on
49ers
the
will
edge.
eat them alive.
Yes, absolutely. I think they match up poorly with every NFC powerhouse team. The Eagles, the Cowboys, the Niners. I don't think there's a chance they could stop any of those weapons. They're not going to win the 41-38 Chargers type of shootout games over and over again, right? If you're getting into this type of game, when you go up 21-0 in the first 8 minutes against the Saints, and this is the final score, and the Saints were in the game at the end of it, with Derek Carr throwing to A.T. Perry and Bowden and who?
Yeah.
No,
Literally who?
It can't be. So we're sounding the alarm in Detroit a little bit. I think they're mucho sketchy right now, Katie.
Mucho sketchy. Saints are just 5-7, but they're one game back from leading the worst division in the NFL. Falcons are just 6-6, leading the NFC South. Can we vote the NFC South off? Can we relegate them to like the CFL or something? Because this is just insane that at 6-6 and 5-7, you're in some kind of a hunt here.
Yeah, it is a weak division. By the way, they would cook every CFL team, but yeah, for sure. Like it's like the debate when people are
But
like,
you know what? But do they deserve to be there instead of the NFL?
right? It's like, oh, Alabama would beat this worst team in the NFL. I'm like, actually, it would be 50-0.
Literally.
In any case, this division is bad. When Derek Carr's, injured Derek Carr's weak Dennis Allen coach Saints team is battling for the division lead with Desmond Ridder. Like, what? I mean, I'm not impressed with any teams in this division. So whoever ekes it out at 7-10, probably, congrats to you for getting that playoff spot. But I'll be betting on a first-round exit for whoever makes it out of this division.
Couldn't agree more on this one. So we're going to get into Sunday Night Football, Packers and the Chiefs. Obviously, wild ending on that one. The last few minutes, some questionable calls. But just quickly, any other games that you want to touch on? The Texans beat the Broncos in a close one. I was on the Texans minus a 3.5, but that one was kind of hit or miss. Anything else surprise you this weekend? Any good wins?
Yeah, some really good wins, Katie. Obviously, the Niners was my biggest win, but I actually took the Cardinals plus 6.5.
Me too.
Yes, Katie.
Yes.
You know what's up. I sprinkled the money line too at plus 235.
Oh, good for you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was a nice win, mainly because, first of all, when you bet on ugly underdog,
yeah,
you want to be right more than right. Like you back that ugly team that doesn't look good. You're like, see, told you. It always feels good to have the see, told you feeling in your heart. But who was the second luckiest team I mentioned in the league earlier? The Eagles. Who's the number one luckiest team, Katie?
Steelers.
The Pittsburgh Steelers. And the fact that they were 7-4 under Kenny Pickett, it made no sense. It made no sense. So,
well, first of all, I've got 2 points on that game. One, yes, as soon as that line came out and it was 5.5, I was like, guys, okay, the Steelers had one game over 400 yards offense. You're 5.5. And the fact that it went up to 6.5, I was like, what are we doing here? It just proves how many Steeler fans are out there in the market and then are just betting their team and we're excited about something because they had no business. If they were like a 2.5 point favorite, maybe, but the fact that it was 5.5 and got up to 6.5, I was like, this is insane. Absolutely not. And, people looked, oh, well, the Cardinals got blown out by the Rams. They always get blown out by the Rams. Okay.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray now is like 8-1 in his career versus the Rams. Like or the last 9 games or so, it just doesn't happen. That rock, paper, scissors thing that you do. That's not one of the things that happens. So glad we're on the same side of that. And yeah, I didn't sprinkle any outright, but and I know Kenny Pickett came out of the game, but Kenny Pickett doesn't, guys, that's not like a Brock Purdy or a Jalen Hurts or any quarterback that's going to matter. Okay. I thought Trubisky actually maybe did a little bit better. But what I will say is that, so Josh Allen is my quarterback in fantasy and he was on a bye week this week. And so I had to pick up another quarterback and the only one that was really available was Kenny Pickett. And he had that little green arrow. And I was like, all right, well, I don't know, maybe I'm betting against them, but they're favorites. Let's just put Kenny Pickett in there. And he got me 3 points because he ended up, and I have George Pickens. So I thought, all right, maybe a little bit of a stack here. And no, I would have been better just to have Josh Allen on a bye and not have a quarterback based on what happened. All right, let's get into Sunday Night Football. The Packers beat the Chiefs 27-19. It was the first time, Danny, that Patrick Mahomes has played in Lambeau Field. He was very excited about it. Didn't turn out to be as exciting as he thought it was going to be. Jordan Love is so fun to watch. Some of those throws that he made under pressure, some of those deep balls that he threw were so impressive. And it's really great to see someone who started kind of good and then he was struggling and then to come back. And I think it just goes back to yeah, if you spend time developing someone, 9 times out of 10, eventually it will come together. So I'm happy for Jordan Love. I'm happy for Packers fans. I know that Bears fans are upset that the Packers are likely making the playoffs at this point. But want to hear what you think about Jordan Love and this Packers team, and then we'll talk about the issues with the Chiefs and then the officiating.
Yeah, huge win for them here to stay in the playoff hunt, like you alluded to. The Packers continue to perplex me. I don't think I must be like 1-5 betting their games, whether it's the total, the side,
Yeah.
for them, against them. I mean, they really, and they rank at the bottom of the luck ranking. So they're a team that's often due for positive regression, right?
Yeah.
You think, okay, it's going to start to turn around. That tipped ball that got intercepted, this time it's going to go their way. And it started to. This line was so sketchy, Katie. It was -6. Money was on the Chiefs, and then it went to -5. We call that reverse line movement, when the line moves the opposite direction of where the money's coming in. It's like, wait, why does that make sense? People are betting on that team.
Yeah.
They should become a bigger favorite. So I stayed away from the spread. I'm kicking myself because when you see that, when you're scared to take the favorite,
you chase the line movement. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you usually want the dog.
The
when you're too
reverse,
scared to
the
take
reverse
favorite.
line movement. Yeah.
That's right. So I wish I had taken the Packers plus the 5. But nonetheless, I mean, Jordan Love, I agree with you. He seems like he really has that arm talent. Like he's throwing through,
Yeah.
he's threading needles. He's
Yeah.
making reads. And when it's funny because he has the similar like receiving corps that the Chiefs do. I kind of see as an interesting comp where
Yeah,
the Chiefs
no
kind of guy to
true
catch a
wide
pass.
receiver one. Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Like
Christian
whether it's
Watson, kind of. Yeah.
like Justin Watson, Valdez Scantling, Sky Moore, all these like random pieces. They're looking at like do wide receiver by committee with no true star other than Kelsey at the tight end. Look at what the Packers are doing with Love and Romeo Doubs and
Christian
Donovan,
Watson.
Wicks
Yeah.
and Jaden Reed, Christian Watt. Right, there's a lot of Schoonmaker on tight end. Like there's not a ton of big names out there, but they're making it happen, at least even against a good Chiefs defense. So, that's the key for the Chiefs on their side. Where is that playmaker? The Packers did it against them with no true playmaker. Who's going to emerge for the Chiefs that's not named Travis Kelce?
I honestly, I don't know. I think it's time to actually hit the panic button on the Chiefs. I don't think the Chiefs are a shoe-in for the Super Bowl this year in the AFC. Their defense is there, but the O-line is questionable. They don't have a true wide receiver one. They don't seem to be on the same page as Patrick Mahomes. It doesn't seem like people are running the routes that they're supposed to. There seems to be some kind of confusion. And there's a lot to worry about. And Patrick Mahomes is incredible, but this has got to be his worst season. I mean, how many interceptions has he thrown? How many turnovers? It's bad. But okay, so let's talk about the officiating in this game. In the final few minutes of the game, 2 really serious calls. One, there was a roughing the passer call when I'm not sure who it was, but they hit Patrick Mahomes. The call was that he was out of bounds, but he was not out of bounds. He was very clearly still in bounds. That, of course, gets an automatic first down. And then there was a very horrendous PI call that was missed on MVS that would have moved the Chiefs to like the freaking, well, certainly in the red zone, maybe even the 5-yard line. Yeah, the 10-yard. It was like within the 10-yard line.
Yeah.
And then that was missed, and maybe it was a makeup call for the other one. I don't know. Patrick Mahomes came on later, and he's just a master at press conferences. He said, "You know what?" He was like, "Yeah, we would have liked that call." He's like, "But you don't play for calls at that point. It's on us to beat the other team." And I believe that. Patrick Mahomes was essentially saying this. The Packers deserved to win that game. They outplayed the Chiefs. You can't be playing for flags in the final couple of minutes of the game. That's just not a position that you need to put yourself in. But it completely changed the game, because if that PI call was made, then I believe that Patrick Mahomes would have scored. If he had 3 downs within the 10, they would have scored.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like the response too. You got to respect that, right? Mm-hmm. But I will say, I honestly feel like officiating is the worst I've ever seen it this season. And maybe Maybe it's because sports betting has proliferated. So all of our money is on the line on every play, every player prop, every total, every spread. We all have something invested in everything. So people are incensed when a referee makes a call that is absolutely nonsensical. Like, where did you make that up? Like, none of us could. 99% of people couldn't have thought of that call. How did you get to that answer, sir? So the calls you referred to, I totally agree. I mean, the PI miss was egregious. Like the referee, the rules analyst who they always have, Gene Steratore, was it? He said, that's defensive pass interference. He played through his back. I like how he did. He played through the back. I like how he called. Right, like he literally went through him. And then the roughing the passer, or not roughing the passer, unnecessary roughness for a hit out of bounds. Mahomes is fighting for the first down. He literally was trying to get that inch. What's a defensive player supposed to do? Not let him get the first down? No, now it's a 25-yard gain, not a 10-yard gain. Yeah. All the rules are so stacked against all the defensive players. It's quite frustrating. It really is.
Quite. One of the funniest things of the day, though, was the Christian McCaffrey flop when he tried.
Oh my goodness!
He did like a freaking soccer. You know how the soccer players flop, like just a flail, like you couldn't believe, to the point where the referee was even put his arm around him, laughing, like, "No, this is not going to happen for you." It was a valiant effort.
No, seriously. I saw not a number, but at least 2 other plays where a player got like slightly held, like, okay, grab the jersey. Holding was not called. The guy lets go like right away, and the guy, and he flails, and he gets a cheeky holding call that takes away a 25-yard play. Like, watch out for flopping in the NFL all of a sudden.
But you know what? If you got to try for it, If somebody gets a hold on you and you're not flopping, you'll never know.
What do they say? What do they say? If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we're talking Monday Night Football with Danny Brasco. Why should you bet with Caesars Sportsbook? 2 words, Caesars Rewards. Every bet brings you closer to the type of benefits only Caesars can offer. Hotel stays, VIP experiences, sports and concert tickets, and more. It's not just an app, it's an empire. All right, guys, welcome back to Moxie Bets presented by Caesars Sportsbook. And right now we are getting into Monday Night Football between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Cincinnati Bengals.
The Jaguars, Katie, she says. The Jaguars.
Yes, that is how it is pronounced. And by the way, we have spawned several videos talking about this, and the Wires crowd wins every single time. So it just, get on board, people. They are the Jaguars. All right, so the Jags minus 480. Heavy favorites, double-digit spread, 10. The total is 40. Interesting. Low total, high spread. So we know that unders, except for last Thursday night, unders have been hitting at an unprecedented rate. You are the king of the under. Is that where you're taking us?
Yeah, how do I not? I will say this is not my favorite under of the year by any means, but I did also say that I'm blindly betting primetime unders regardless of the matchup or the spot for the rest of the season. They're 29-10 to the under, and it lost last night barely. 43.5 was the total in the Sunday night game between the Packers and the Chiefs, and the late field goal to put the Packers up 8 ruined that one. So another Sunday night or another primetime under goes down, but like I said, that makes them 29-11 now.
Yeah.
So doesn't mean I'm not going to stop betting it. Total's at 40 here. Katie, it actually went all the way down to 38. And I would have taken it there when primetime totals at 38 or below, 15-3-1 this year. So like I often say, the lower the total, the more I am attracted to it.
Right.
40 here, the reason I'm sketched because the Bengals do give up explosive plays. They rank towards this bottom half of the league in explosive play rate. And probably their best corner, Cam Taylor-Britt, is out tonight. So maybe the Jaguars can get big ones to Zay Jones and Christian Kirk. Maybe the big play is there for Trevor Lawrence. But on the opposite end, they also, the Jaguars are missing Cam Robinson on the offensive line. He ranked top 15 offensive lineman in the league. So maybe the pressure's coming from Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard and company. Travis Etienne is banged up with a ribs injury. I wonder how hard he can run up the middle there. Maybe the Bengals play hard here and try to keep themselves in the hunt despite not having Joe Burrow. So if it's a scrappy game, give me the under 40 at that key number there. I'll take it.
Yeah, this game feels trappy for a lot of different reasons to me. And so I'm going Trevor Lawrence under 1.5 passing touchdowns, and it kind of coincides with a lot of things that you just said. This Bengals defense is a bend but don't break unit. They allow the second most pass yards per game, which you just kind of hit on right there, but they're very stingy where it counts, and that's against passing touchdowns. They've only allowed multiple passing touchdowns in 3 of 11 games this season. 2 of those games were actually Lamar Jackson. And that's not to say that Trevor Lawrence isn't a very talented quarterback like Lamar Jackson is, 2 Heisman Trophy winners, but Lawrence has been very inconsistent when it comes to this prop. He's gone under this prop in 8 of 11 games this season. And if you look at this Bengals defense, where you beat them really is on the ground game. You know, they allow 5 rushing yards per carry. They've allowed 12 rushing touchdowns. So I do feel like they could beat this pass defense in terms of explosive plays, like you said, giving up a ton of yardage. But when it comes down to it, I believe that the Jags are going to be trying to run the ball. They'll be more successful running the ball into the end zone. So I'm going to take Trevor Lawrence under this 1.5.
Very interesting. Very under pass TDs. And you know what? I like the pass TD prop way more than the yards prop. I said earlier this week that I am officially done betting unders on passing yard props for quarterbacks. Only overs, and that doesn't mean I'm blind betting every over for every quarterback, but if it's a spot I like, I'll only take the over. I won't bet the under anymore just because there's too much variance in negative game scripts, Katie. You see Sam Howell's down 35 points to the Cowboys. He puts up 10 with the Commanders, and he throws for 350 yards. How does that make sense? Just because in garbage time, anyone can rack up stats, and that's when you can lose a passing yards under. So I like you attacking the touchdown passes under. And one thing I wanted to say, look, like you said, that coincides with the under, and hopefully there aren't lots of passing TDs. When both teams are on extended rest, which they both are here, the under is 104 and 47 since 2018.
Yes, this is one of those. I used a stat similar to that a few weeks ago. Yeah, when the defenses are well rested, they play better. And so I think that's kind of like where that comes in. And again, with these primetime games, we saw a crazy high scoring affair on Thursday night, but there was also a lot of flags and penalties and yardage given and whatever. So hopefully that doesn't happen in this game. What is another prop bet maybe that you're looking at for this one?
So my favorite prop tonight is on the tight end of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to stick my foot in the sand here, Katie. And and it's probably the only thing we disagree on. And I'm going to go with Evan Engram over 47.5 receiving yards. You mentioned that the Bengals are susceptible to giving up pass yards. And look at what opposing receivers have done to the Bengals as of late. In the last 5 games, Freiermuth, 9 receptions, 120 when they played the Steelers. Dalton Schultz on the Texans, 4 receptions for 71 yards. Dalton Kincaid on the Bills, 10 for 81. And George Kittle on your Niners, 9 for 149. Beasting. Yeah. So Evan Engram's been a guy that they want to feature more and more in this Jaguars offense. He's very skilled at the tight end position. He's fast. He has speed. I know this from when he was on my Giants. I was kind of sad to see him go because I know his talent level. And I think if they have success on this Bengals defense, it'll be to the tight end where they know they can attack and the Bengals defend poorly. So give me Evan Engram over his receiving yards, and I wouldn't be mad at an anytime TD sprinkle either.
I wouldn't be mad at that. I love that, and I love a tight end prop. That was the only bet that I lost this last weekend. Is I took George Kittle on an alternate receptions prop at 5+. Because the Eagles had been getting kind of eaten alive by tight ends. They gave up, 6 receptions per game, 2 tight ends.
And he went over his yards, right?
He probably went over. Yeah, he for sure went over his yards. Yeah. But he also he got, because the line was 3.5, but it was like at -166. So I was like, let's go 5+, just get one more than that at +122. He ended up having 4. He had 6 targets. He dropped that one in the first quarter, which I think was our one, but whatever. I lost one bet. And my 49ers won. Like, what are we doing here? So it's interesting because you talked about how you're no longer betting unders on passing yards for quarterbacks. I'm looking at Jake Browning tonight. And again, I don't know why. I feel like there's a lot of weird trappy elements in this game. I'm taking him over 20.5 completions. That's at -108. So he did go under this number last week, 19 completions on 26 attempts. But you got T. Higgins back in the lineup, and the Jags defense ranked bottom 5 in both passing attempts and passing yards allowed. The Bengals are 10-point dogs. The game script says that they'll be passing to keep the pace. His pass attempts line is at 33.5. It's the same as Lawrence. So if you think he's going to get even anywhere near 33.5 attempts, this guy's getting 20 completions. That's where I'm going with this one.
I love the way you broke that down. I'm actually gonna take the attempts. I'm gonna bet on you have to throw the ball, like you mentioned, in a potentially negative game script. And whether he completes them or not, I think this is gonna cash. I love the attempts. I'm gonna make that an official bet, actually. That's a
Let's
good one there.
go.
No, that's a good one there, Katie.
It just feels like people are going to go under on that one, but it's just the discrepancy between 33.5 attempts and the line being at 20. It just feels a little fishy.
Yeah, and if you feel like an underdog's going to be down playing from behind, attempts is always a good bet on the quarterback. To boot, the Jaguars right now have the number 1 rush DVOA. They've really strengthened up on the run defense. So look, Joe Mixon, maybe if the Bengals are close in this game, or they even are playing with the lead for some points, right, and looking to pull off that upset, yeah, you want to be able to control the game and the clock with Mixon. I don't know how successful they'll be. I think Browning will be forced to pass. T. Higgins is back. Your best bet to beat the Jaguars here is through the air, not through the ground. So Browning, let it fly, my brother.
Let it fly, my brother. And I have one more that goes hand in hand with that. I'm taking Jamar Chase over 57.5 receiving yards versus the Steelers. Browning finished 4th in yards per attempt, and Chase finished with 81 yards. And that's a really good defense. I mean, allegedly a very good defense. They're my fantasy defense, and they disappoint me almost every single week. It's going to be harder to double team Chase, obviously, with Higgins back. That's always such a big thing when there's only Jamar Chase. Everybody just swallows him up. And like you kind of mentioned, the Jags secondary has been really beatable through the air this season. They've allowed the 4th most passing yards per game. So look, if I think that Browning is going to have 20 completions, then I got to take Chase over the 57.5 because he had 19 completions last week, really only had Chase, didn't have Higgins, and he got to 81 yards. So what's another prop bet you like? That's where I'm going.
I love that. I love how you're looking at this. The market is so down on the Bengals just because Browning's not that bad, guys. Browning is not that bad. He has ability.
Yeah. And the thing is too, is I think what it was, I was reading an article with Jamar Chase, and I know that everyone is always like, he's our guy. It's great. We're still good. Everything's fine. And like the house is burning behind them. No, bro, everything's totally fine. But again, Browning got a lot of first team reps when, in training camp in the beginning of the season when Burrow was injured with the calf. So this chemistry, like a Jordan Love or something, it's building. This is his second start. I think it's not going to be as bad as people think because there's still the weapons and there's still a good defense.
Totally. Look at the numbers on these receiving yards props. You never see these this low for star wide receivers. Jamar Chase is at, like you mentioned, 55, 57.5 yards around across books, right? Below 60 yards for Jamar Chase, you never see that. T. Higgins, 39.5 yards. I don't know what his return will be like. I don't have a strong opinion on that. That's a low total for him. Tyler Boyd, 29.5. Bengals receiving props are low. And if Browning has any, he's not going to get stifled all. He's not going to go 0 for 0 for 0. Yeah. I think you could buy low on some of these. I like that.
All right. What's one more bet you're looking at for this game?
Uno mas, Katie. Uno mas. And where are we going to go for our last bet? Well, I like a sack prop. I'm a big fan of the sack prop.
Hell yeah.
And I'm going for 2 guys. I'm going to give you 2 picks here. We can go Sam Hubbard to get over a quarter sack at plus 175. That's a fun plus money one. Yeah. But if you want to keep it safe, go ahead. I'm probably going to bet both of these. I am, not probably. Trey Hendrickson over to record a sack. He's got to get a full sack there. Yeah. But the guy's an absolute monster. There's just 2 weeks in which he has not recorded his sack. He's causing havoc at the line. Like we mentioned last episode, Katie, when you were talking about all the sack production that has occurred for the 49ers defensive line since the arrival of Chase Young. Well, if Hendrickson continues to play at the level he is, then Hubbard has the opportunity to get sacks. Hubbard actually has 4 sacks in the last 6 games. Mm-hmm. So both guys will have their opportunities, gang tackling, get that quarter sack, get Hendrickson. I mean, I think with Cam Robinson out for the Jaguars, Lawrence will be under more pressure. And that's really going to be a key factor if the Bengals want to stay in this game. It'll be behind Trey Hendrickson just beating his chest and causing havoc and making it nasty. So I'd like to bet on that if I want defensive prop.
I love that. And if we like the under, we don't think the ball is going to be, necessarily moving as much. I can't remember what I was thinking about that, but yes, I appreciate you with the sack prop. All right, let's move on. How sometimes it's so interesting to me how you can actually lose a thought as it's coming out of your brain. Like I don't happens to us all, but it's a phenomenon that is just strange to me. Like, how could you possibly lose it? But speaking of things to lose, neither of these teams should win a game moving forward. Thursday Night Football, the New England Patriots and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, could we get any grosser than this one? The Steelers are favored -6, and this total is very low, 31. Is 31 the lowest total we've seen this season? It is,
Yes,
right?
it
We've
is.
seen some
It's the
32s and
lowest of the
30.
year.
Ugh. And you're and like, this is one of those ones, like, do you remember that Sandra Bullock movie where they were like, keeping their eyes open? This is what this one is going to be. This is what this you're going to have to really talk yourself into. Only the sickos, us included, are going to be watching this one on Thursday night. I can't imagine anything grosser. I'm going to say right now, take the under on the New England Patriots team total. It's not on Caesars yet, but it can't be low enough. They rank in I think 31st in the league in points per game they average about 13 points. It's probably actually after this week it went down because they didn't score it all this week. So I'm sure it's less than 13.5. It was at 15.5. If you bet the under on the New England Patriots team total every single week, you are up, 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 up. So I'm going to keep riding that train. And I'm sure, the game under.
You know I do. You know I like the under here, of course. And it's Kenny Pickett is actually hurt. He went out of that game. He had surgery on his ankle. Breaking news here.
Oh, he had surgery. Wow.
Yeah, so Trubisky is the starter for this game. Shout out Tucker, our producer, with that breaking news for us. So, first of all, 31, lowest total of the year. You already know I'm betting this under. I just said the lower it goes, the more attracted I am to it. But oh my goodness, Katie, what's that? You know that meme of Shane from The Walking Dead? And he's like, no.
Oh, yeah.
Football memes love to use that. That's like when you make us watch Steelers, Patriots, and Thursday. No, please, no.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
That's what it's going to be like. Maybe I'll watch it, speaking of Sandra Bullock, I'll watch it Bird Box style, blindfolded.
Now, if you had to, if it was, now neither of us are going to be betting this in real life, but if you had to, gun to your head, who are you taking against the spread? Are you giving the Patriots 6 points? Are you like it's disgusting. It is like only the true sickos or the people that are forced life or death, or they will never take another breath, will bet the spread in this. But I got to ask you,
what's my lean here? What's my lean?
If you had to,
you're making me do it.
If you had to, well, I'll do
I think
it too.
I'm deceased. I don't know if I can. Patriots plus 6. The Steelers. Oh, no one wants to bet on the Patriots. Bailey Zappi. I can't make a bet. I lose.
I want to know what sickos are betting on this spread. Who feels confident enough to lay 6 points or even to give the Patriots 6? I don't know that you could give the Patriots. Okay, it's fine.
Katie, the total is down to 30.5 already. It's moving down.
Bet it now.
Before it goes
Bet
below.
it now.
If it's at 29.5, is that the lowest total ever? Like I can't remember ever seeing a total below 30.
I don't know. We'll have to find that out. All right. Well, if you're taking a side on the spread, tweet me. I want to know who you are, and I would like to know what you look like and what you do. And I want to check in on your parents and your family and just make sure that everything is going okay. All right, Danny, this has been Moxie Bets presented by Caesars Sportsbook. Don't forget to follow our guy, Danny Brasco, at Brasco Bets. You can sign up with him for bets. He is absolutely killing it. You can find his picks on sportsline.com. You can see him on the Early Edge podcast here on YouTube as well. He is absolutely killing it. Make sure that you tail his bets and follow him because you will regret not doing it. Thank you for joining us today, Danny. This was a very fun show, and we'll get through to Thursday, and maybe we'll have you on next Monday, and we'll talk about that game.
Thanks, Katie. One thing to say to close the show: bang bang, Niner gang.
Niner gang.
Let's go.